Hello, Dr. Clerk and classmates. My name is Andrea Nelson. Um, I'm looking at, as for me, for what dual relationships are. It looks like that if you know someone that you used to work with, a family member, or someone that you had a relationship with before you started treating them, what to me will be a dual relationship because you already kind of know them before you even had them as a client, and that might spark up some things that happen in your relationship with that person, and you might not use your best judgment to to the client, to them as a client now. With the ACA Code of Ethics, they talked about sexual and romantic relationships with former clients. They stated that you would have to have a 5 year period before you can even start a relationship up with a client that you were seeing, and that's only after the last professional contact that you would have. I don't know anyone that will want to have a relationship with a client that they have been treating, but to each his own. Some people, I guess, have done it in the past, so that's why maybe it's one of our one of the rules in the ACA Code of Ethics. Um, it also talks about the friends or family members that you can't remain objective to. Like I stated before, if they come in with a problem and then you object them what they're saying and go, well, I remember when you was doing this and this and this. That to me, you're not being objective because you're bringing up something that's not that they've done before without even listening to their whole problem or issue that they have, and that's from with them being there in the first place. It also talks about um, extending counseling boundaries, like going to one of your clients' weddings, or a friend of their weddings that they want to invite you to, or going to their kid's graduation, because now you're opening up doors for more issues. And the client may use that against you if you went one time and then they go, oh, well, you went the last time, I don't see what the problem is. It's not an issue. We're just going to be friends. You don't want to mingle your professionalism in with sociable interactions with your clients. That's why it's best to have, in the informed consent form, everything that you are not allowed to do, so that that client is already aware of it, so that you're not using up some of their session time discussing that and going through that. And if you do encounter that, what it also stated was that, make sure that it says document boundary extensions, making sure you document everything that has occurred, so that you're basically covering yourself, so that there is case it goes to court or whatever, you have documentation proof that this is what's going on within there. But like, I looked up on boundaries and dual relationships by Stephen Sawyer and David Prescott. What they were talking about in there, it says, in a review of the history and evolution of the concept of therapist client boundaries and therapy practice, Smithfield and Fitzpatrick identified three principles that underlie the patient therapist relationship and boundaries: aptness, due to neutrality, and the responsibility of the therapist to strive for the independence and autonomy of the client. And this framework, what they mean by abstinence is saying that the clinician is refraining from the client is like refraining from self-seeking and personal gratification from the counselor, beyond whatever the counselor, the professional, has already gave for that. So I'm saying, for instance, if your client has overcome something that you have been working with them, they fell back on not getting it done, and they finally maybe went a whole week without doing whatever that thing is that they were talking about that they had an issue with, and you reward them by saying, great job, maybe print out a certificate, and they're looking for something more than just that. You don't want to, you make sure that you cut that short, and make sure that you let them know this is not what is happening. Remember, in the informed consent form, this is mentioned X, Y, and Z about this. So that's just, like I said, covering yourself. Working in a small community, to me, with running into the risk of seeing your client maybe in the store. Not saying that you can't go out into the store because, you're no longer a therapist or a counselor when you're off the clock. You are being your regular self. So when you're being your regular self, you're gonna may see them. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't speak, but you keep it short. Hey, how you doing? And you keep it going. Okay, well, nice seeing you, and keep it, and just keep going on about your own business. Not mentioning, hey, I'll see you in therapy next Thursday, because sometimes I guess it may come up, because if you're talking to someone and you have a meeting with them, the first thing go, all right, well, I'll see you later, Sarah. I'll see you next Thursday. And then, whoever knows, if they're with someone, well, what you going to see her next Thursday for? And then it opens up that person has to explain that they're going to counseling, and causes friction between you and that client. So, that would be, to me, one of the things that I think would happen as far as being a small community. Or you may see someone that was invited into one of your clients' sessions, and then they see you in the street, and the same thing could happen. Oh yeah, that's Mrs. Nelson. She is so and so's therapist. I went to her, so then they start asking questions. So, like I tell my students that volunteer for me at my job, they always would talk about things that goes on in the school, or talk about a certain person. And what I would tell them is, y'all live in a small community, and whatever is being said will get back to that person. So you don't know who that person who you're talking to knows. So if you're telling someone something specific about someone, and then they go and tell someone, and everybody go, you know what, I know that girl. Oh, I know that person. That's so-and-so cousin. And so now you're starting a whole big confusion within the community, all because you open up your mouth to say something that someone has done or did, or whatever the case may be. So I just try to remain, keep it professional. Keep whatever things that you heard, keep it to yourself. You don't have to go out and repeat it. And it's the same thing as a counselor. You see someone that may have been, you speak, there's nothing wrong with speaking. Keep it short. Hello, how's everything going? Okay, well, you know what? All right, well, I'm gonna let you go, and I'm gonna get back to my shopping. You cut them off before they start asking a whole bunch of questions. And then as another example, I've seen my doctor out in the public. I speak, but that's about all that it goes to. I don't, go into a whole, oh, is this your kid, or this, and that. It's just keeping it professional on the outside as well as on the inside, so that there's no issues or problems that's going to come out of it when you're dealing with your client. All right, I thank you all. Have a good night.